Hi, I'm John Tickles, and welcome to Remote RPGs. Well, you're probably wondering why I'm missing some appendages. For today's review of Suikoden 2, I had to sell Timmy, and I ended up giving my arm and a leg for this game. So yeah, it literally costed me an arm and a leg. And there's nothing left. Get it? Because I'm missing my... This joke is forced and dead on arrival, isn't it? Oh well. So I finally found a complete copy of Suikoden 2 on eBay for $92, which I'm told was a good deal, but I'm still rather skeptical. But hey, at least it's in nice condition. I mean, look at the nice outside, the backside, and here inside there's, oh, look at this beautiful clean disc. What? Nick! You mother... But wait, what Nick is this? Well, the only Nick I can think of who can afford such a game is... Cage. That's it. Send in the bees!
Not the bees! Ah!
Okay, I feel better now. Let's get started with Suikoden 2 for the PlayStation 1. Suikoden 2 is the 1999 sequel to the original classic, and it takes place a few years later. You play as a silent protagonist, a young member of the corrupt Highland army, who, along with his childhood friend Joey, discover the destructive nature of their superiors and eventually wind up defecting as you're both captured by the opposite side, led by returning characters Victor and Flick. However, being their enemy, you're taken prisoner, meaning that you spend a good chunk of time in Suikoden 2 doing... chores. Suikoden 2! A story of brutal war, heartbreaking plot twists, and epic floor cleaning! You and Joey soon become free and acquire halves of the Beginning Rune, a powerful artifact that grants the users immense strength and can be used in any way they see fit. You end up becoming the leader of a rebellion, warring against the corrupt Highland to free your beloved country. That's just the basic premise, because Suikoden 2's story is a lot deeper than just a simple war. The incredible thing about the story is that it never gets too complex. It's a simplistic but incredibly powerful tale, and it's really memorable. It's a game that deals with responsibility and fate, but also about war, tragedy, and sacrifice. It's subtle and especially well paced, as it's constantly moving forward and not longer than it needs to be. Clearly, the focus by the creators was to tell a story, and they absolutely nailed it, as Suikoden 2 has arguably one of the most effective narratives on the PlayStation for how focused and deep it is. This is in no small part without the help of incredible characters, but with over 108 of them, I gotta do it fast. So, backed by anything but popular demand, I must do this in song. 108 stars? That's nothing. Let's do this. Yeah. Representing the Lego side. Joey's your best friend, but he's an ambitious prick. Still, he's just as solid as the blue lightning flick. Nanami's your sister who's always got your back. She doesn't give a f***ing guy comes talking smack. Palika's a little girl who's mute and weak. Still, I bet she could even beat Shin and make him weak. Tuta is a little girl who sucks the most in the game. Oh shit, that's a boy. Screw you, Japan, and your games. Victor is the wielder of the Star Dragon Sword. Nina's a bitch you only use when you're bored. Taiho looks like Ace from 999. His brother Yemku looks like a chick, but that's fine. Tengar came and she brought her bitch Hicks. That poor guy's so whipped, I bet he's sucking hurt. Richmond is a badass private detective. Fuck you, I can't think of a rhyme with detective. Elective? This army is 10% jailbait, 20% shoe, 15% children. But what can you do? 30% characters that you'll never use, 15% are useful, and the rest is you! I don't have time to talk about all the characters. There's over 100 playable ones, and only in about a 30 to 40 hour game. Obviously not all of them are good for battles or good characters, but you'll find a lot of ones who fit both of these categories. Even with all these people, Suikoden 2 still gives everybody some screen time and has some impressive character development and dialogue. I have to single out your best friend Joey as one of the best characters in the game for just how compelling his role is. The same also goes for the upbeat Nanami, as the deep friendship between the protagonist, Joey, and her, and how fate tries to tear them apart, is the tragic core of the story. The villains were also interesting, with Luca Blight being especially memorable as an antagonist for just how brutal he is. Truly, he's one of the most underrated villains in video game history. Couple that with some reoccurring favorites, and the ability to see a few more familiar faces with save data from the original, and you have a really rounded out and memorable cast. The brilliant thing about the game is that it's all about the characters and their struggle during this war, rather than telling a complex story. So this creates a very powerful, simple, and memorable narrative. So yeah, although you'll have a few hated ones, the characters in Suikoden 2 are fantastic. Like the original, Suikoden 2 puts you in the control of an army, and exploring your base is even more fun than it was in the last game with more stuff to do. Being the leader, you get to name your castle. But don't be a dick like me and call it Cockslap Castle, cause that just kinda takes away a little bit from the experience of horrific war. It also didn't help that my name was Tickles, and I tried to be clever by calling my army the army. So now everybody who refers to my powerful rebellion sounds like they're stuttering. Still, placing you as the leader of an army is incredibly satisfying, even if you don't really make decisions and the game is clearly playing to your massive ego. As leader, you'll have to personally recruit members by completing specific tasks, and by visiting many different places like this quaint little town. Oh no, no, no! Must resist! Be the better man, John! Oh, fuck it. However, recruitment leads to probably the single issue I have with this otherwise amazing game. To get the true ending, you have to get the 108 stars before a certain point, but this is unclear. I missed out on the true ending the first time because I had no idea that you had to collect every single character by a certain point, so I missed the truly amazing ending. Secondly, you have to do some pretty specific things to recruit characters, so I strongly suggest that you use a guide, unless you'd like to suffer. Other than that, recruitment is still just as interesting as the first, and it adds a lot of extra playtime to the game, as well as variety. So yeah, all of this diplomacy is good, but Suikoden 2 is all about war. So like the first, you have 3 types of battles. You have your typical random battles, where you fight with a team of 6, and like the first game, battles are fast, an even challenge, and reward your use of strategy through the runes and interesting combo system. Not much to say here. Typical, yet fantastic RPG gameplay. The only thing I have to complain about is that managing all these people and items is still a pain in the ass, but that's the name of the game. No, the name of the game is actually Suikoden 2. LOL, see what I did there? Duels make a return, where you fight one-on-one, paying close attention to what your enemies say to beat them in a rock-paper-scissors-like match. While the original only had a couple of these battles, and they lasted about a whole 20 seconds, Suikoden 2 includes many more, and they're just as epic, memorable, and fun as before. The final type of battles is the full-out war, which is much more expanded from the simple rock-paper-scissors system of the original. Here, it plays more like Fire Emblem, as you control your units and work towards beating the crap out of the others. You can create your army's units and command them as you see fit. Obviously, strategy is involved. You can't just sit back and say,
"Keep firing, assholes!"
However, what really makes these battles stand out is how they're used to tell the story. The battles are scripted, so that certain events happen within the battle, like reinforcements showing up and the likes. There's also unwinnable battles. I love how they use these battles to convey emotions to the player. For example, when your army is outnumbered, you really feel it because you're getting your sorry ass handed to you. But when these reinforcements show up and turn the tide of battle, there's no better feeling. Overall, all three battle systems in Suikoden 2 are a good challenge without going overboard and add another layer of uniqueness to this game. Some gamers may say that the graphics in the game aren't particularly impressive, but what Konami did was still incredible if you just accept the 2D style reminiscent of the Super Nintendo, which I definitely do. Areas are really lush, detailed, and vibrant, with memorable lighting, locations, and settings. This game has an incredible atmosphere to it, which makes it unbelievably nostalgic to anyone who's played it. It's really an unforgettable experience. The introduction scene was particularly noteworthy and ahead of its time. It absolutely blew me away for how beautifully well done it was. And although not a word of dialogue was spoken, there was so much said. I still haven't seen anything like it, except maybe the introduction to the movie Up. However, the character models were still a little basic, although their designs were well done. The music is what I want to talk about though, because man, this stuff is just good. Like the first game, the game uses many traditional instruments, and has an Eastern Asian sound in many areas. Couple that with some breathtaking piano pieces like Reminiscence, and pulse-pounding war themes like Battlefield Without Light, and you have a strong soundtrack that is very hard to get out of your head. In conclusion, a key theme you've probably noticed a lot in this review is memorability. There's an undefinable quality of Suikoden 2. Just how unforgettable the experience is to the point where it transcends being a simple video game. Yeah, that may be an overstatement, so I'll just conclude by saying Suikoden 2 is one of the greatest RPGs ever made, and criminally underrated, plain and simple. It breaks my top 10 RPGs of all time for its incredible story, characters, and a great battle system. I could recommend it to pretty much any fan of the genre, particularly those who enjoyed the original, because this one is even better than the already outstanding first. However, as I said, I didn't appreciate the ambiguous conditions to reach the true ending, and there were a few clunks here and there. But those likely personal gripes aside, Suikoden 2 is still one of the best games I've played, and I hope more people give it a shot in the future. Pick it up any way you can, because even though the game was re-released for the PSP in Japan, we'll have no such luck. It's a shame that this game had a really limited run, and it goes for such a high price. But I'd really say that it could be worth it. As a final note, screw you GameSpot for giving this game a 7.6. That's all I have to say, so until next time, I look forward to our next random encounter.
Assholes!